I frequently talked here on Anchor about the philosophical problem of how language affects our reality. On a base level, it affects our perceptions, but on a broader level, we create these stories through language to help us connect the dots and make sense of the world around us, things like religion or borders or nationhood, etc., etc. In that optic, I find it quite interesting when different narratives fit the same set of circumstances. And that, of course, is easier when the circumstances are seemingly confused and random, because that gives the narratives so much extra material to bite on. So, the Trump-Comey affair, which you've all heard of ad nauseum, it's filled with contradictions and bewildering behavior, and stories keep changing, and yesterday on NBC, Trump even seemed to incriminate himself.
When I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won.
Wow, is he saying the investigation was the reason he fired Comey? It seems like so much of Trump's administration has been directionless, a mindless, frenzied panic, like a fish flopping about on a boat deck. But at the same time, I find it difficult to ignore that we can find some rationale for this behavior in some of the more sinister aspects the Trump administration has displayed in the past. For instance, when Trump says that the Russia thing is an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election they should have won, it sounds exactly like the kind of cleverly constructed phrase that is designed to lull liberals into this smug sense of false security. Oh my god, did you just hear him shoot himself in the foot? While at the same time providing his supporters with exactly the kind of soundbite they need to justify his actions in firing Comey and defend it in arguments within their communities. They can say, you're just a sore loser, you're making it about Russia. At the end of the day, we all rely on our own internal map to make sense of the world, and the human mind is resistant to altering that internal map. Instead, it would rather alter how it interprets facts to fit the pre-existing map. If you have a nice house, you'll buy furniture that fits the house. You'll think twice about buying stuff that'll force you to break down a wall or raise the ceiling. Okay, fine, it's pretty clear I'm out of my element with the construction references, but you get the point. Like it or not, Trump knows that America is polarized, and that it's only the most compassionate and rational players who are close to the center that can actually reach across dividing lines and talk to each other in productive ways. He's not talking to those people. Those people aren't his audience. He knows he has no way of reaching them. So instead, he might be talking to the extremes, trolling the left while giving the right their debating ammo. And you know what? Even all these flip-flopping versions and the contradictions and the changing versions of the story, they do seem like he doesn't know what he's doing, but they also fit in with the political tactic pioneered by his buddy Vladimir Putin. And it's called non-linear warfare. And here's how BBC's Adam Curtis describes it.
His aim is to undermine people's perception of the world, so they never know what is really happening. Zherkov turned Russian politics into a bewildering, constantly changing piece of theatre. He sponsored all kinds of groups, from neo-Nazi skinheads to liberal human rights groups. He even backed parties that were opposed to President Putin. But the key thing was that Zherkov then let it be known that this was what he was doing, which meant that no one was sure what was real or fake. As one journalist put it, it's a strategy of power that keeps any opposition constantly confused, a ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it's indefinable.
So that's sinister stuff, and we're going to talk more about that in the next segment. But on the Trump-Comey affair, here's the question. Does it make more sense to view Trump's erratic behavior as a skillful deployment of his friend Putin's tactics, as well as his own tactics of catchphrases and misdirection which he so ably deployed in winning an election that he had no business winning? Or, rather more prosaically, is this senseless flip-flopping no more than the death rattle of a fish stranded on a beach?